Okay, welcome back everyone to our weekly learning of the Parsha. Certainly after Sefer Breshis renews itself, there's a lot of excitement. And every single week as we're learning the stories that we had in the past, but every year, a person is different, they go through different things in life, they're holding in a different place. And the same stories that we read last year and the year before and before that, they come alive as new. And this is the week of Lech Lecha that we get into the life of Avram Avinu. Avram was what we'll call the first of the forefathers of Klal Yisrael. He was a person that was living in a time where it was completely entrenched and immersed in Avodah Zarah and idol worship. And he went against the tides, completely against the nature of the world. And Avram discovered HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he went on a mission to teach Hashem's message and His reality and His presence to the entire world. Now Avram spent many years of his life to reach that level. 37 years, the Rambam explains. He fought against the entire world, including his parents, including the king Nimrod, and he clung to the ways of the Ribbono Shel Olam. So I would think that if someone did something as monumental as Avram Avinu, who revealed the presence of Hashem to a world that was void, completely devoid of the Ribbono Shel Olam, and he risked his life by going into the fires of Or Kasdim, and he risked his life by going against his father and against all the people of his generation, and he did it all l'shem shamayim for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no one in the world, certainly at that time, and maybe of all generations, that would find as much favor in the eyes of Hashem as Avram Avinu. Now, someone who finds favor in the eyes of Hashem, we know, you look at the life of Noach, v'Noach matzah chen b'einei Hashem. Noach found favor in the eyes of Hashem. He was rewarded. What was his reward? Hashem gave him a teva, an ark, and he saved him from the flood, and he becomes the progenitor of all of mankind. When you find favor in the eyes of Hashem, you are a blessed person, and you receive a lot of good. And so we would expect that if Avram Avinu is the most treasured person in the entire universe, who's revealing HaKadosh Baruch Hu every step that he takes in this world, then certainly he is matzah chen b'einei Hashem. He finds favor in the eyes of Hashem. And with that favor, Avram Avinu should have the most blessed life that we could possibly imagine. Brachas and simchas and siyata d'shemaya, everything should go well in the life of Avram Avinu. And yet the Mishnah tells us in Pirkei Avos that it's not so simple. Asara nisyonos nisnase Avraham Avinu. Avram Avinu was put through 10 nisyonos, 10 tests in his life. V'omad bekulam, and Avram withstood and he passed every single one of those tests. Now Avram Avinu certainly had many more than 10 tests in his life, as we all do. You can have 10 tests, a minute, an hour, a day, that is for sure. So Avram Avinu didn't only have 10 challenges that he went through thousands, hundreds of thousands of challenges. But there were 10 quintessential nisyonos tests of Avram Avinu that shaped and formed and made Avram the person that he was. V'omad b'kulam, and he stood up to each and every one of them and he passed them with flying colors. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give Avram so many challenges in life? La'idiya kama chibasa shel Avraham Avinu, to show the great love that Avraham had for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If my name is Avram Avinu, and I am your treasured child, Ribbono Shel Olam, so then I should be treated as such. And yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes out of his way, so to speak, to make the life of Avram Avinu one major struggle. Nisayon, test, and challenge one after the other some of the biggest challenges that a human being could possibly imagine. If I'm so great and I'm so wonderful and beloved in your eyes, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu send so many tests to Avraham Avinu? And says the Mishnah, Lohidiya kamechibasa shel Avraham Avinu, to show how great was the love that Avraham had for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That with all that he accomplished and everything that he was able to bring to this world, and all of the revelations of Hashem that Avraham Avinu made throughout the entire universe that he touched, and the thousands and tens of thousands of people that he brought back in Kiruv to the Ribono Shel Olam. He changed the course of mankind to make it a monotheistic world. With all of that, with his emunah strong in the Ribono Shel Olam, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu would test him, as we will see tonight, every single one was a test of faith. And it was all for Avraham Avinu to become a bigger maimin, a bigger believer in the Ribono Shel Olam, and express the deep well springs of ahava, of love, that he had for Hashem. Because when you love someone truly, when you love the Creator of the universe with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your might, so whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu will put a person through in this world, it will only be a nisayon, a test, a challenge that I must overcome, so that I can show HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, I love you so much, I'm willing to go above and beyond the place that I am in right now. And Avram goes through 10 major challenges in his life, and each and every one goes against the very nature of who Avraham Avinu was, and each and every one brings out new koiches, new abilities and new powers and new levels of emunah, of belief in the Ribono Shel Olam, and it makes Avraham Avinu greater and greater and greater. And that is why some of the Mefarshim say on this Pirkei Avos, Lo yediya kamechi basa shel Avraham Avinu, not to show how much Avraham loved Hashem, but to show how great the love of Hashem was for Avraham Avinu. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed Avraham through every single nisayon to bring Avraham even closer to him. When you love somebody, you want them as close as could possibly be. You want your spouse to be close. You want your children to be close. You want them within your realm all of the time, as much as you could. And the more that a person will endure in this world and overcome those nisyonos, the closer they are going to get to the Creator of the universe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is perfect, who is omniscient, who is all-knowing and all-powerful, and He makes not a single mistake, and therefore every single test that every person in this world is placed in is tailor-made for the person themselves to bring out the koichais, the strength that is inside of them, and bring them closer to Hashem. So we get to show our love, and Hashem shows His love as well, as He brings us closer to Him through the challenges that we must go through. So that means that challenges in one's life are not something for a person to complain about. And challenges and tests in one's life is not something for a person to get angry and frustrated about. And the nisyonos hachayim, the struggles of life that every single person, no matter who they are, will have to endure, is not something to rebel against HaKadosh Baruch Hu about. On the other hand, every nisayon that a person has is to remind them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves me. And He's giving me an opportunity to show my ava, my love for Hashem. Rav Hirsch writes in the Chumash that if the world is so perfect, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so perfect, and He made a world that is in symmetry and perfection, everything falls into place exactly the way that it should be, then it must be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the most perfect world. If that's the case, asked Rav Hirsch, then why does everybody have to go through so many nisyonos in their life? Why does everybody have to struggle? Why do we have to get knocked down and pick ourselves back up? Why? Hashem, if you love us and you care about us and you want what's best for us, make the world comfortable. Make the world pleasant. You know, it's like when you get onto that airplane and you really, with the mileage and everything, you could have bought yourself that better seat. You're like, no, I'm not going to save my mileage for the next one. I can't spend that extra $50 for the big, I can't do it. And then you get onto the plane, and where do you have to walk through? You have to walk through that seat. And there's everybody, first class. No, I would never get, then you walk through business class. Wow, that seat looks pretty comfortable over there. Wow, look how they're laid all the way down. Then you even go through the economy plus. Even that looks better from the cargo seat that you're sitting in the back. And you're sitting in that seat, and the whole time you're like, oh, I should have just spent the money. I should have just put in the mileage. I should have just done it. And then you get up after a nice red-eye flight, and you pass through all of the seats, and you see how nice it would have been to be in that nice, big, cushy, comfortable seat the entire night, sleeping like a baby. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you could give everybody business class in this world. Everybody could be flying first class their whole life, from birth until death, 120 years old. Everything could be so nice. So why, Hashem, in your infinite wisdom, did you make a world that is so complicated and so complex and so difficult to traverse? Says Rav Hirsch, if that's the world that Hashem made, must be that's the best world that we could be in. Because as we see in the life of Avraham Avinu, every nisayon, every challenge is an opportunity for a person to express their ava, their great love, to the Ribbono Shel Olam, as HaKadosh Baruch Hu is expressing His ava, His great love to us. I just spoke to one of my Talmidim who unfortunately got a little bit in trouble with the government, and he ended up in prison for 5 months, about 5 months. I spoke to him today for the first time since he's been released. The guy never sounded better in his entire life. He's full of energy. He's full of emunah. He learned Torah in prison many more hours than he ever learned his entire life, davening 3 times a day with a minyan. He was living on this bare minimum of kosher food. He lived without his iPhone for 5 months. When he walked out of prison, he says, what do I need this thing for? And he got himself a flip phone. He sounds more relaxed. He sounds happier. His life sounds more meaningful, more enriched. He enjoys and appreciates his children and his wife more than he ever did in his entire life. Because he went into a place that everybody would say, oh, Nebuch, this poor guy. He has a wife, he has kids, he has a business, he has a house, he has a car, he's got a phone, he's got this, he's got that. Nebuch, the poor guy, look where he has to spend the next 5 months of his life. And he told me today, one of the greatest experiences of his entire life. I said, I'm not telling everyone that they should go to prison for 5 months. But I did. And I'm telling you, it was one of the most meaningful, redeeming experiences of my entire life. It changed my life forever for the good. Every nisayon is not where you're supposed to feel that you are trapped in prison, but rather it is the place where you are going to work and to grow and to steig and to become a bigger and a greater and a better person, because Hashem loves you so much, He wants you closer to Him. And when I push myself to my limits and I rise myself up to a level of challenge where I can overcome, I'm able to express my great love that I have to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And this is what the life of Avraham Avinu teaches each and every one of us. The greater you are, and this Rav Hirsch writes over there as well, the greater you are, and the more that you can handle, you should know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can send those nisyonos to you, and don't get angry. Take it as the greatest compliment in the world. That Hashem loves you so much that through this challenge, you're going to grow and grow and grow and become even better and greater. You're going to be able to express the deepest love that you have for the Ribbono Shel Olam in your entire life. And so the Rambam explains on this Mishnah over here of the 10 nisyonos, the 10 challenges and tests of Avraham Avinu. V'asar nisyonos sheniznasa Avraham Avinu kulam ksuvim. All of the tests that Avraham Avinu had to go through, they are all written explicitly in the Torah. Now with these words, the Rambam is excluding one of the major tests that most of the Rishonim count as a test of Avraham Avinu. At the end of last week's Parsha, we have a mention of a place called Or Kasdim, the fires of Kasdim. But the Torah does not say what was going on in Or Kasdim. But we know from the Midrash exactly the story. Avraham Avinu was living in town with his father. His father was like the biggest idol salesman in the world. He was going out of town for the day, and he told Avram, listen, Avram, do me a favor, watch over the store, sell some idols. Will you have to make some money? And Avram said, sure, no problem, Dad. Avram, his father Terach goes away. Avram, who cannot stand idols, and he sees people coming in to worship the idols and buy the idols, he gets fed up. He smashes all of the idols, puts the big club in the hand of the biggest idol in the shop, and he waits till his father comes home. His father walks in, he sees all the devastation, he says, Avram, what happened? And he said, Dad, you'll never believe it. The idols got in a fight. Who's the biggest? Who's the strongest? Who's the most mighty? And that big one over there, he grabbed that club and he smashed all the other idols and he destroyed them. He's truly the strongest one. And his father said, Avram, are you kidding me? The idol can't talk. He cannot see. He cannot move. He can't do anything. He couldn't smash all the other idols. So Avram said, Amaleh, do your ears hear what your mouth is saying? You don't believe the idol can do anything, yet you bow down to it and you pray to it and you put your belief in it? He said, how could you do such a thing? So his father said, oh, this poor kid, he's mamish off the D, he's off the derech of idol worship. What's happening with him? So he says, we have to go to Nimrod, the evil king, he'll deal with you. They come to Nimrod, and Nimrod says, Avram, listen, either you bow down to me, or I'm throwing you into the fiery furnace over there and you will be burned up into smithereens. And Avram said, I only bow down to one God, the God of heaven and earth, who created the entire universe and is right here with us today. I will not bow down to you. He said, Avram, I'm giving you a chance. Bow down to me, or else I'm going to have you thrown into the fires. He said, I'd rather die and be burned in the fires here in Or Kasdim than to bow down to you for 1 second. And so they picked him up, they heaved him into the fires, and we know the story. Hashem made a miracle, and he emerged from the fires. Not even one hair on his head was singed. That's Or Kasdim. And that, according to many commentators, was the first of the major challenges that Avraham Avinu had to go through. Because here he was a renegade who believed in Hashem when nobody else believed in Hashem. And his amunah is being put to the test, the ultimate test. It's give up your life or bow down to this man. And he says, I give up my life for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, 100%. He jumps in, Hashem makes a miracle and saves him. Says the Rambam, when I count the 10 challenges of Avraham Avinu, All of them are ksuvim, they're all written in the psukim in the Torah, and he doesn't count the challenge of Or Kasdim. What is the first one? The first one is this week's Parsha. Parshas Lech Lecha. V'yoyim Hashem al Avram Lech Lecha me'artzecha me'ladetcha u'mibeis avicha. I want you to leave, go for yourself, leave from your land, from your birthplace, or from the house of your father. Ela aretz asher areka, to the land that I'm going to show you. He doesn't even tell him where he's going to go. Just leave everything behind. Your house, your comforts, your pillow, your blanket, your Sealy Posturepedic mattress over there, the fridge that you know when you open it, you know exactly where the food is going to be and where the midnight snacks are, the town that you grew up in, all of your friends, your school, your gym, leave it all behind. Leave your car, your house, leave it all behind. Leave it all behind, Avram. Your father, your mother, take leave of them. You're going. Where am I going, Hashem? Don't worry, I'll show you where you're going to go. But Hashem, He stipulates, Ve'ezcha legoy gadol, I'm going to make you a great nation over there, which Rashi explains, over here you cannot have children. Over there, don't worry, you're going to have children. And you'll be a blessing, and you'll be great, and you'll have wealth and riches, all wonderful things. Like Rashi says, Lech la'anascha, for your benefit, u'letoivascha, and for your good. You go there, everything is going to be great. And Avram Avinu, he goes. No questions asked. Now, some of the commentators ask, well, what's the big test over here? If the master of the universe that you strongly believe in comes to you and says, Avraham, I want you to leave everything behind and go to the land that I'm going to show you. And don't worry, because in that land it's going to be all for your benefit, all for your good. You're going to have children, you're going to have riches, you're going to have wealth, you'll have it all. Fame, fortune, a good name. Everyone will make blessings. Everybody will be like you. What's the challenge? Where's there a challenge over there? Hashem's promising Avram, leave your country, everything is going to be good. There are many different answers, but I would just like to suggest, because the Tziv writes over here on this pasuk, that it's really a bit backwards. When you are leaving some place, so the first place that you leave is your house. And then you end up leaving Moladetcha, you leave your birthplace. And then after that, you leave Artzecha, you leave the land that you are in. That's a progression. I'll leave the house, I'll leave the town that I was born in, and then I'll leave Artzecha, the whole land, I'll leave it behind. And over here says the pasuk, leave your land, leave your birthplace, and leave the house, leave your father's house. Why is the pasuk going backwards? You don't leave backwards. Why is the verse doing that? And the Netziv explains over there, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving Avram a tremendous challenge. You're about to embark on the journey that is going to be the rest of your life. It is the journey of Avodas Hashem, of serving the Ribbono Shel Olam. It is going to be your journey of being Makar of the world around you. It is going to be the journey of revealing the presence of the Shekhinah, the divine presence here in this world. And in order for you to succeed, you've got to leave everything about your life behind. Because you're starting all over again. And therefore, I want you to leave your land. That's the easiest thing for a person to leave. Okay, you live in America, so people go to Eretz Yisrael. I remember one of our Rabbeim said, you go to Eretz Yisrael to learn for the year, 2 years. He said, leave your Kleenex tissues in America. Don't bring them with you. He said, if you bring your box of Kleenex tissues, you'll be an American blowing his nose in Eretz Yisrael. But if you go to Eretz Yisrael without your Kleenex, and you buy the sandpaper tissues like all the Israelis are using, then you can be an Israeli blowing your nose in Eretz Yisrael. So to leave the land, I can leave that behind. I can leave that all behind. Moladetcha, your birthplace, which you are very connected to, which means maybe your town, maybe it means everything about you over there. That's more difficult. It's more difficult to leave that comfort level that a person has. Or Beis Avicha, your father's house. leave the house of your father, leave all the comforts, leave all the luxuries, leave your childhood, leave everything you learned, everything that you received from your parents, leave all of that. Ooh, that is a big nisayon. You're going to go out into the world and detach yourself from everything that made you who you were up until this age? That's a major test. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu, if you want to succeed in life, in what your ultimate mission and your goal is, and that is to reveal my presence to mankind and let everybody know that there's only one God, you've got to leave everything behind. Lech Lecha, go for yourself, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lecha, to yourself, you become who you really are. And that was a big challenge. But Avraham Avinu did it faithfully. And now he's on the way. As the Rambam writes over here, he's going into exile from his homeland. And he ends up where? To the new land, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed him Eretz Yisrael. Also this week's Parsha. And he says over there, and he says, the second challenge that he went through was Harav Shayamotzi be'eretz Canaan k'sheba lishkoim ba'aretz. Imagine the story over here. Avram's the greatest man in the world. Hashem just sent him out of everything, and He told him, "You got to work, get it all out of your system. Go to Eretz Yisrael." Eretz Yisrael. Wow! I've been waiting all my life to go to Eretz Yisrael. Good. You're going to go there. You become great over there. He walks in the town and he looks around. There's no food. What's going on over here? Hashem says, "Oh, did I forget to tell you, Avram? There's a famine going on in Eretz Yisrael right now. Sorry, you can't stay there. Go to Mitzrayim. Go to Egypt." Excuse me? I travel all the way from my father's house. I left my whole life behind. Every single thing, I left it behind. I come to the great holy land of Eretz Yisrael, and I walk in there only to find out there's nothing there. Total famine. And Hashem says, "You know what? I think you should go to Mitzrayim. It's going to be better for you in Egypt." So now Avram leaves Eretz Yisrael, where he's supposed to become great. Now he can't become great. He goes to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. And when he walks into Egypt, his wife, Sarah Menu, who goes down in history as being one of those beautiful women in the world, she's spotted by the servants of Paro. And they say, "Oh, you know, Paro would like a woman like that." And she's abducted. In a short amount of time, Avraham Avinu is ousted from his family, from his house, from his homeland, from his land. Goes to Eretz Yisrael, has nothing to eat, has to leave there. And his wife is taken and abducted right after that. The Rambam points out every single nisayon that Avraham Avinu was going through in his life, every challenge, every test. It's going against the grain, against the nature of who Avraham was and what his life was all about. And yet Avraham Avinu looked at every single challenge as a test of his faith. How much am I going to believe in Hashem? And how much am I going to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love you, Hashem, no matter what you do to me. You kick me out of my homeland, I love you, Hashem. You send me to Eretz Yisrael, there's a famine, I have nothing to eat, I love you, Hashem. You take me to Mitzrayim where there's plenty to eat and plenty to enjoy, and then you have my wife abducted from me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love you so much, you have no idea how much I love you, Hashem. And Hashem says, exactly, Avram. That's why I'm giving you the nisayon, I'm giving you the test here in this world. Because I love you, and you love me. And by testing you, and putting you in that situation, by putting you in that place, that is going to raise you up. You'll become greater, and you'll become closer, and you and I are going to bond together as one. And the Rambam goes on and he explains all the nisyonos, and most of them are in this week's Parsha. The next one is that Avram has to go and fight against the 4 kings to rescue his nephew Lot. Avram was a fighter. Avram was a man of chesed. He's a man of kindness, of love, of gentility. He wasn't a fighter. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts him in the midst of a battle with the 4 most ferocious kings. And he has to go with a relatively small army and fight them all off. And then he has his wife, Sari Imenu, who for many years is barren. And she says, well, at one point, Avram, the goal is to have children. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised you that you're going to have offspring that will be as countless as the sands of the sea. It doesn't seem to be working between us. Take Hagar, take the Shifcha, take the maidservant, have a child with her. Avram wants to do this. Sarah is his soulmate. Sarah is his whole life. They worked together when they left Haran. The pasuk tells us that they took all of the souls that they made together in Haran. They were all busy. Avram was busy working on the men to convert them to believe in Hashem. Sarah was busy working converting the women to get them to believe in Hashem. They were partners in this world. I should take Hagar. She's an Egyptian maidservant. Why would I want her? And yet he is told that that's the right thing to do. And if that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, that is what a person is going to do. Somebody told me that there were 2 friends recently that were speaking to each other. And each one has their major pekalach in life. What is a pekalach? A pekalach is like this. I once heard from a very chashuv person in Baltimore. His name was Asher Prero. And he was, as a young man, very unusually, he ended up getting a stroke. And after he recovered from the first stroke, sometime later, he ended up having a second stroke. Very unusually, he was a teenager, young 20s at the time. And when he had the second stroke, he had to go to a rehab center that was for not only stroke victims, but for anyone that had brain damage. And he was in this rehab center together with many other people that were in motorcycle accidents, in major car accidents. I think maybe there's some football players who smashed their head one too many times into a shoulder pad. Many people that were there with brain damage. And they were all suffering. Some of their bodies didn't work so well, their minds didn't work so well, they couldn't talk so well. This fellow was a very big person and he couldn't do everything that he wanted to. And he said on day number 1 of the rehab center, they have what's called group therapy. And in the group therapy, so the doctor that is leading it passes out small pieces of paper to the entire class. And she says, I want everyone to write on this piece of paper the 5 worst side effects that they have as a result of the trauma that they have gone through. If the person has a stroke, maybe the hand doesn't work, this doesn't work. Someone had a brain damage from a motorcycle crash, the legs don't work, this doesn't work. Everybody write down on the paper the 5 things in your life that are the worst side effects that you have endured since this traumatic experience that you went through. Okay, everybody writes it down. And then she passes around the bowl. And she just folds up your paper and drop it into the bowl. Okay, she gets the bowl back, and now she says, okay, I'm going to pass it around. I want everyone to take a piece of paper out of the bowl and read it. It's going to be somebody else's problems in life. And I want you to decide, would you be willing to trade in your problems for this person's problems? So this fellow tells me, we're talking about some people in the worst shape you could imagine. He said every single person in that room opened up the paper, read about all of the terrible side effects and problems of somebody else's life, thought to themselves about their life, folded up the paper, and then put it back inside the bowl. Not a single person wanted to trade in their sorrows, their difficulties for somebody else's. So Usher said to me, you know what that means? Everybody has their pekalach in life, their little bag, their little stuff that they have to hold on to. And my pekalach is not yours, and your pekalach is not mine. You got exactly the pekalach of goodies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in store for you, and I got the pekalach of goodies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in store for me. And it wasn't meant to go this way, it was meant to be in this person's lap, and this one is meant to be in that person's lap, exactly the way that it is. So there are two friends that were speaking to each other recently. Someone told me this story. And they catch up with each other like every few months. They're friends for many, many years. I don't know, something like 20, 30, 40 years. And they're both married, children, and so on and so forth. And each one has their own pekalach in life. So one of the friends is telling his friend about all the tzaras that he has going on. And it's unimaginable what he's going through with his wife, with his children, all different things, unimaginable. And his friend is listening to him on the phone. And he says, oh my gosh, how do you do that? That's incredible. How can you handle these things? You're a tzaddik, you're a giant. How do you do that? Your plate is so full and you can handle everything. Unbelievable. And then the friend says, and you? How's it going? I remember when we spoke last time, you told me about X, Y, and Z. How's that going? He said, you don't even want to know. And he tells him, this went wrong, and this went wrong, and this is terrible, and this, He says, but you know what? We're strong, and we're going forward, and we're moving forward. And the friend says, wow, I can't imagine anything worse than what you're going through in your life. I can't even imagine how you're even smiling at me right now. How are you even having this conversation? I don't understand. So the other friend said, he says, you know what the message of this conversation is? Is that you have your pekalach, which I think is impossible to endure. And I have my pekalach, which you think is impossible for you to endure. And each one of us has the strength to overcome the nisayon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us through. Which means that you got exactly what you need, and I got exactly what I need. And every single one says, the Mishnah over here in Pirkei Avos is l'sho chibason shel Avram Avinu la'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to show the great love that a person has to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And that is the secret of this world. That's what we're learning from Avram Avinu. There's a famous question that many of the Mefarshim ask. Rashi asked in the very beginning, many of the Mefarshim in their introduction to Sefer Bereishis asked the same question. If the purpose of the Torah is to bring us to the mitzvahs, the reason that we're learning Torah is to keep mitzvahs, that's why it's here. So then why does the Torah start with Bereishis Bara Elokim? In the beginning Hashem created the heavens and the earth. You should start, as Rashi says, go all the way to Sefer Shmos and start with Al Chodesh Hazeh Lechem, which is the first mitzvah that is given to all of Klal Yisrael, the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. If the goal of the Jew is to keep the Torah, then just give us the facts. Let us know what we have to do. So nice, stories are wonderful. We love stories. A good story is always elevating and inspiring. But why would Hashem spill His holy ink for so many thousands of psukim, of verses, throughout all of Sefer Bereishis, to tell us some very nice, inspiring stories? And the Svarno and others write, the reason is exactly that. Because from the lives of the Avos HaKadoshim, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, from the challenges that they endured, from what they had to go through, from their deep levels of emunah that they lived with, we are able to understand what it means to be a Yid, what it means to be a Jew. When you see the life of Avram, who was the prized person of the generation, and you would have thought that he would have been treated nicer by the Ribbono Shel Olam and had a much more comfortable existence here in this world. What does the Torah say? No. Because that you're Avram, that's why I'm going to give you nisyonos. Because that you're so great, because you can handle it, because there's more that's inside of you to grow. and express your love to me, says Hashem. And because I love you, I want you as close as possible. That's why I'm going to give you nisayon after nisayon after nisayon, test after test after test. What does it teach us thousands of years later? It teaches us that a test is your friend. A test is a chesed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A test is something that Hashem is giving you because He loves you, and He wants you to have the opportunity to show how much you love Him. Avraham, we do not find, complained about the challenges that he was given in life. One complaint he had. Hashem told him and promised him he could have children. But he's going on 100 years, he has no children. He asked one thing, how will I know, Hashem, that there's going to be children after me that are going to survive and they're going to go in the ways of me? How do I know? I don't have any children. Sorry, I can't have a child. That's not even a complaint. That's just Avraham Avinu wanting to fulfill the prophecy of Hashem. And therefore, a man who has everything in the world of ruchnius, of spirituality, of greatness, he endures challenge after challenge after challenge. He doesn't complain one single bit. And as a result of that, he's elevated to the level of Magen Avraham. We daven every day, Shachris, Mincha, Maariv, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. That we ourselves are talking to the God of Avraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov. And at the end of the conclusion, then we speak about what's called Schus Avos, the merits of our forefathers. We conclude the blessing, Baruch Atah Hashem Magen Avraham. He's the shield of Avraham Avinu. Avraham, who went through all the challenges and expressed his great love to Hashem. And Hashem expressed his great love to Avraham. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu shields Avraham. He protects Avraham. He holds him close. And for all generations, and even in our generation right now, we are living in the schus, in the merit of the Magen Avraham, of the shield of Avraham Avinu. And when we attach ourselves to a life of an Avraham, when we attach ourselves to the world of nisyonos that every single person is going to have to go through in this world without fail, and we look at them as opportunities to elevate ourselves and raise ourselves up and become greater and become better, and have the chance to express Ahava Kodesh Baruch Hu, I love you so, so much, Hashem. I love you so much. Thank you for the challenge that you put me through. Thank you for the opportunity to raise myself and become a greater person. Thank you, Hashem, for everything that you do in every single way. I have a Talmud, a student. He's had a very hard life, very, very hard. I can't even begin to imagine the difficulties psychologically that this man has had to endure. And at one point he was getting very depressed about his lot in life. But he said, I'm a Yid, I'm a Jew. I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want me to be sad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like sad people. Sad means I don't believe in you, Hashem. Sad means I don't believe that everything you're doing to me is for my good. Sad means that I don't have the emunah of this faith that is necessary to overcome the challenges that you put me through. But if you're putting me through them, there must be a good reason. So he was makabel, he took upon himself the following exercise. And he said, for the next 40 days of my life, 40 days straight, he said, I'm not going to complain about anything. Only thank Hashem. Every time that something happens to me that really in the past would have got me down and got me distressed and got me upset, I'm going to say, thank you, Hashem, you are so kind. Thank you for making this happen and for that happen. Thank you that the shidduch didn't work out. Thank you that I don't have a job. Thank you I don't have so much money. Thank you that this is failing. Thank you, Hashem. I really, really appreciate it. Not lip service, not tongue-in-cheek, not half-heartedly, wholeheartedly. And he called me after 40 days and he said, I want you to know I've never been happier in my life. Because everything that looks like it's bad, I transformed in my mind, it's all good. Everything that I looked at that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was angry at me and beating me up and taking me down, suddenly it becomes an opportunity to express my love to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And as a result of that, I'm a different person today than I was yesterday and the day before and the month before. And this is something that each and every one of us in our life of challenges, if we want to change the perspective so that we can grow in the right way, that's what we can do. Instead of being upset, we need to express our love to Hashem. For that is the purpose of every single Nisayan. And I'll end with this. I had a Rabbi in Yeshiva. His name was Rabbi Ephraim Eisenberg Zatzal. He was the son-in-law of Rav Gifter. He was a tzaddik Yesod Olam, a major Talmid Chacham, very, very special person. Midas, everything you could imagine. He was like a malach, like an angel. And one day he had a very bad headache. And the next day a headache, and before you know it, they rush him to the doctor, and the doctor sends him to the emergency room, and he has a tumor growing in his head, in his brain. And they do emergency surgery, and Baruch Hashem, they save his life temporarily. But he went through a very, very long recovery in the hospital. He came home, I think maybe very briefly, and then he had to go back to the hospital where eventually he passed away after battling this tumor for only a few months of his life. Towards the very end of his life, after he'd gone through surgeries and he was racked in pain and he had no energy left, one of his family members came to the hospital one day to come and visit him. And as they walk into the room, they see that their father is lying on his bed. His eyes are closed, his head is bandaged, he's in his hospital gown. He looks very weak, he looks very shvach. And he sees that his father's lips are moving. And so he walks over, he wants to hear, what is my father saying? Who is he talking to? And he gets closer, and the voice was so soft he couldn't hear. He leans his ear down into his father's, by his mouth, to hear what he has to say, and he hears the words, Hu heitiv, hu meitiv, hu yetiv lanu. We say it in our benching. Hashem is meitiv, He does good. Hashem yetiv, He will do good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give good. He will continue giving good. Lanu, to all of us. This is what Rabbi Eisenberg was saying while his life is ebbing away. Hu meitiv, hu yetiv lanu. And sometime later he passed away with those words in his mouth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're so good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you will do more good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you always do good. Lanu, to all of us. Several years later, Rebbetzin Eisenberg got sick as well. And her children moved her from Baltimore, and they moved into their home in Lakewood. And she convalesced in their house. And the last several weeks of her life, as her life was ebbing away from her, one of her children walked into the room where she was sleeping. And they see their mother lying there, very sick, and her lips are moving, and they want to hear what is our mama, what is Rebbetzin Eisenberg saying, and they get closer and closer and closer, and they lean in, and they hear she's saying the famous words, Hu meitiv, hu yetiv, hu heitiv lanu. Hashem, you are good. Hashem, will do good. And Hashem, you will continue to do good, lanu, to all of us. And not long after that, she passed away herself. In the darkest moments, in the biggest struggles, in the hardships of life, that is where a person is able to see the goodness of the Ribbono Shel Olam. Why? Because if Hashem didn't love me so much, He wouldn't put me through what He is. Because that He loves me, He wants me close to Him. And He gives me an opportunity to express my ahava, my love to Hashem. And if we do that like in Avram, Oimed, we stand up straight and tall and proud and strong in every nisayon and every challenge that we go through. This is going to be how we connect to the schos of Avram Avinu. And this is how we will connect to the Mogen Avraham. Hashem will be the shield like He was to Avram. He'll be the shield to us as well. And that means we will be shielded from the difficulties, shielded from the mistakes, shielded from not overcoming the nisayon. We'll be shielded from all of that. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring us close. And as He brings us close, Hashem will say, I love you even more, because I see how much you truly love me. May we be Zeichem Yetz Hashem to express our deep levels of Ava to the Ribbono Shel Olam, and may HaKadosh Baruch Hu always, always bring us close, protect us, and shield us, and hug us, and love us the way that we love HaKadosh Baruch Hu.